Hey, welcome back, guys, to another episode of Talk It and Talking on the one and only mabwear.bigmedia, where I share my views and opinion, hoping that it will stimulate your views and your opinion, and we can keep the conversation going. Guys, boy, a lot has happened in the world of football, but today we'll stop by here to see, take a look rather on the what should have been Jamaica's final games leading up to the qualification of the 2026 World Cup. So we're going to try to see if we can demystify what has been such a mysterious few days, right? I think probably a lot of us probably got caught up in patriotism, and totally overlooked what was smack right there in front of us. So we're going to go into it and see what we can learn, see where we went wrong. All right, guys, so stick around. All right, guys, so the format of this is something like a Q&A. Me throw out questions. You can answer in the comment section, but I'll try to even answer some of my own questions. Now, before we get into it, I'd like to do what we call a Did You Know segment. All right. So before we get into the meat of the matter, did you know that in 1998, leading up to the 1998 World Cup qualification, did you know that the Jamaican men's national team was ranked 58? Did you know that? And did you know that after the qualification, we were ranked number 20, I think it was 26 or 27. Did you know that? Did you also know that the present team that we're trying to qualify for the 2026 World Cup, has more players playing overseas than we had in the 1998 campaign? Did you know that? That's just food for thought. Now, guys, where do we take the conversation? Let's start with our coach, Coach McLaren, Steve McLaren. Before we're privy to hindsight, I want to ask a question. Why was it that he was deemed the right man for the job to take Jamaica back to the World Cup after 28 years? Why was he deemed the person? Well, might I say, and I've said this on many different platforms and to many other persons, that I don't think that Steve McLaren was the right fit for us. I don't think that we needed an overseas coach to take this team to the World Cup, given the opportunity that was being afforded to us. Once upon a time, it was 3 automatical spots for CONCACAF to the World Cup. And given the fact that the World Cup was going to be hosted by 3 of the teams we would have considered as powerhouse, who would have definitely been a stumbling block to the Jamaica national team, which are Mexico, the United States, and Canada. And these teams were host teams, and so therefore they did not have to qualify. But to make it even easier, FIFA decided that they were going to add teams. They were going to change the World Cup from a 32 team, right, and add a few more teams. Now, CONCACAF got about, a few more added spots. So in this round of World Cup qualifiers, we would have had 8 teams representing CONCACAF. or representing not CONCACAF, but representing North America. 8 teams, right? And so, with that said, when I looked at that, I believe that we did not need an outside coach to qualify the team. Now, I said that to say also that one of my beliefs was also that if we were going to improve the Jamaica football landscape, we should have used this as an opportunity to give not just players, but also coaches that experience. You know what I mean? It would have been such a grand affair to know that Jamaica went to the World Cup with one of their own local coach. And I think that that would have done a lot for the country. So on that background, I did not think that McLaren should have been the coach. And I thought that it was not an arduous task. I thought it would have been an easy task for us to qualify to the World Cup. So for me, I definitely don't think that he was the man for the job. I could not see what he was going to bring to us, bring to the team, being absent from coaching for quite some time also. You know what I mean? It was quite ridiculous. You know, if just imagine interviewing for a job, and when you go to the interview, when they look at your resume, there has been so many years of inactivity in the post that you are now applying for. It makes no sense. It made no sense whatsoever. But that was the choice we made. I'd love to hear from you guys on why you think that he was the man for the job. And if you didn't, you know what I mean, why you think he wasn't the man for the job. So now we are where we are, guys. The next question I'd like to ask is, how much of the blame for where we are right now should we place squarely at the foot of the coach? And should we view also the JFF and the role of the and the role that the administration play? So yes and no. You know, whenever as a leader you have a task and you have troops or you have people under you that works under you, or people who work or move at your directives, whenever success is achieved, the first person to be hailed or given the accolades would have been the person leading out. And so therefore it should also be the same when it comes on to failure, that the first person to be questioned or called into question should be the coach and the staff. So certainly, as I said before, with Steve McLaren's absence from competitive football, you know, he was certainly, some people would say he was a dinosaur coming into the job, or, you know, he was just totally out of touch. You know what I mean? And we saw it. We saw it in the Gold Cup. You know what I mean? We saw it in the rounds that brought us to the final round. You know what I mean? He, even in the friendly games, you know, it was like there was there was nothing. We couldn't see him bringing anything new to the team, right? And as such, the expectation probably for many persons was quite dim. For me, as I said before, that I don't think we needed him. to go to the World Cup, right? I think if we had the right application, if we had probably some other players, um, especially players with that um, hunger, you know what I mean? And I alluded before, just take a look at 98. 98, the core of our team were local players, they were hungry for going to the World Cup. You know what I mean? So I want people might say, boy, here we go, right back to the 98. But experience teaches wisdom. And so therefore, we have to have something to look back at so that we can say, boy, yeah, you know what I mean, we know where we're going. So yeah, for me, as I say, he is to be blamed as much as I think a lot of the players. I think the players also have to take some accountability. You know what I mean? I remember when I was playing soccer, and when I at not at schoolboy level, but when I was playing at other competitive levels, I remember a coach said to us once that he is more of a manager. He says that if at this level, if you're trying to be coached, you cannot be on this team. And I want to say the same for players who are playing internationally. When you're an international soccer player, it's not so much that you need coaching. More, you need what we classify as management. You know what I mean? A friend of mine said to me one time that when you look at the NBA, the coaches are the managers in the NBA. They cannot be compared to college coaches, because in college, the coaches in college, they are actually teaching the players how to play the game. When you come to the NBA now, you would have already been a seasoned player, not necessarily a seasoned NBA player, but you would have known all the rudiments of the game and know what is expected, how to move, how to run. And the only thing you're here now in this team would be to apply that to how we want you to operate. And it's the same thing with soccer. You know what I mean? I think too many of the players that we have on the pitch, they seem too, like, the basic things seems quite too hard for them. You know what I mean? And so I think that's one of the reasons why we are where we are. You know what I mean? Also, we are not getting the best players from the diaspora. And I said that on an episode that I did, that what we are getting from England is the low hanging fruits. There's no way England they are going to use their resources to develop players and then allow Jamaica to come in and take those players to bolster their team. That's not going to happen. And so therefore, that is why the players who have that marketability, who are deemed good quality, they believe in themselves also. I believe that with the quality that they have, they are deserving of a call up for the English national team. And so they're rather to wait it out. Right? So, but the players are certain, they should certainly be held accountable. The football, to be honest with you guys, sometimes I'm watching the game and I feel personally that I've played better Sunday football, Sunday morning football. You know what I mean? Ball bouncing and moving around, and you feel good at the end of the game. When I'm watching the national team, boy, to be honest with you, boy, there's so much left to desire. You know what I mean? So definitely, I think the players are are to be questioned, are they definitely have to be questioned of their commitment and what they bring. There's too much to be desired, left to be desired. The administration, the JFF administration, I think that boy, when I hear somebody say when the head of the stream is dirty, what do you expect to flow? There are too many questions for me when it comes on to the JFF. Too many questions. And we're going to get into even the most recent appointment of Rudolph Speed. For some, and for myself, I feel like the JFF is being run like it is, it's friend and company. Friend and company, people looking out for people. And I understand that, but at the expense of the team, no, I cannot understand that. So, yes, certainly, I think blame should be laid at the coach's feet, at the players' feet, at the administration feet. You understand me? So, yeah, that is my take on that point. All right, so are we all in agreement with the coach's resignation? Now, given that we have the playoff looming in March, and should the JFF had asked for the coach's resignation before this, like after the Gold Cup? What you guys think about that? Well, for me, I think automatic qualification. I don't know if there was a clause in his contract stating that it was the automatic qualification that he had the job until. But however, I believe that there probably was some self-reflection, especially after the Trinidad game. He certainly fumbled it, making a statement that he was the 1-1 draw. He was satisfied with that. Was certainly did not help him in any way at all. Did not do any favors to him. I think his approach was definitely not pragmatic. I think his approach was one of cowardice, definitely. He went into the game somehow with probably a lot of trepidations. So I think not getting the automatic qualification would have definitely been a stain on his career. Given it's like this was the opportunity that anybody, probably I don't want to say anybody, but a novice, you know what I mean, an artisan, if I can use that word in this context, could have taken us across the line. And so I believe that probably he felt that, it was time for him to go, because that in itself, not getting the automatic qualification, and Curacao, we would consider them to be minnows, came and got the automatic qualification. So I think that led him to make that decision. I welcome the decision. As I said before, he was never somebody I considered or somebody I gave much credibility, right? He might have had a lot of credentials coming in, but certainly, as an assistant coach, but not as number one, in a number one position. So yes, I think the resignation was fitting, and possibly, let me say this. I believe that the resignation came months too late. I think after the Gold Cup, an assessment should have been done, and he should have been relieved from his job. We left from the Gold Cup. We played the Unity Cup in England, and I think the best game we played was against Nigeria. Not even the Trinidad game. The Trinidad game was atrocious. And it is no, I think what we saw happen with even Nigeria not making it to the World Cup is a testament of where Jamaica is. You know what I mean? Nigeria played Jamaica in that cup finals, and both teams look horrible. And Nigeria now is facing their second consecutive disqualification from the World Cup, not being able to qualify for the World Cup. So, you know what I mean? That if there's anything to take from that, was that the Jamaica team was not on a good footing. So yeah, I think that the resignation came too late. You know what I mean? It definitely came too late. So, and it was welcome. I think it was welcomed by all the fans. I think all the fans, they too thought that the resignation was the best thing right there. All right, guys. So where do we go? Where does the Jamaica, the Reggae Boys, go from here? Playoffs. We go to the intercontinental playoffs. The intercontinental playoff sees 6 teams vying for 2 spots. The teams are New Caledonia, Jamaica, Iraq, Suriname, Republic of Congo, and Bolivia. Now, guys, this is not going to be a cakewalk. So the format is that not Bolivia. I think it's Iraq, who is ranked 56, and the Republic of Congo, who is ranked 58, will be the 2 seeded teams. So those teams will play, I think, a single game to determine who will go to the World Cup. While the other 4 teams, I think Jamaica will play New Caledonia, and I'm not certain if it's a if it's a 2-way, but we will play them, and if we are successful, then we will play the Republic of Congo. And it is the same on the other side. Bolivia will play Suriname. The winner from that will go on to play Iraq. Now, as I stated earlier, when in '98, when we were qualifying for the World Cup, we were ranked 56 or 58. After we qualified, we were ranked 26, 27, somewhere there about, but we were in the 20s. This Jamaica team that we're trying to qualify to the World Cup is ranked number 70. Yes, I said number 70. Let that soak in. So is it that probably we are ahead of ourselves? You understand me? Was it that we were just being patriotic, or was it that we just did not believe that? We believe that, given the fact that The opportunity was so grand, so much opportunity was there. We could not have been one of the teams that wouldn't have made it. But here we are at the playoff, ranked number 70. Now, if I went and I didn't know anything at all about this New Caledonia team. And so I went and I watched them qualifying for this round. I think the team that they beat, they gave the team 3-love. What do I think? What was my assessment of the game? And what is my assessment of this New Caledonia team? I don't think there's anything to fear. You know what I mean? I don't think there's anything to fear as it pertains to the team. They looked a little organized. There's no, what would I say? No eye-catching talent. They have one player, I think he's their number 12. I think he scored twice in that game. He is the player that probably we'll have to watch out for. If there's an eye-catching talent, it would be him. All right. But certainly I think Jamaica would have more talent. But as we know, football is not played on paper, it is played on the pitch. And so therefore you have to go out there and put it on the pitch. You have to show why you name this or why you name that. All right. Why your rank so high as against why your rank so low. So so should Jamaica get the benefit of this New Caledonia team, then we would go on to play the Republic of Congo, who in their qualification to this round would have played Nigeria. The same team who I said that when we played them in the Unity Cup in England didn't look good to me. However, they did not have some of their players, right? So yeah, they didn't have quite a bit of their players when we played, especially the top man up front. However, watching them play, there's always this concern I have about African teams. When you watch them play, when you watch them individually play for their clubs, they look sublime. But however, when they come together, they look a shell of themselves. You know what I mean? They don't look that good. And so probably that is something that probably can help Jamaica, right? So moreover, they beat Nigeria on penalties. And I think if my real views are that if Jamaica can pick themselves up from not qualifying automatically and seeing that there's a grand opportunity here and come with heart and soul, we can qualify. I don't think that, it's all dusted and done. I think that there is an opportunity here and we still can qualify. I don't think it's all totally over. But that is where we are. And, I must say that, there's a lot of disappointment. I speak to a lot of people and everybody just disappointed. And, we had great hopes. We thought that, after the devastation that the island went through a few weeks ago, that this automatic qualification would have given some reprieve, some relief, lifted the spirit of the country, going into the Christmas break and all of that. But sometimes the easy part is not the way; it is a hard part, and so we have chosen to go the hard road. So I am still hopeful that we can get to the World Cup. You understand me? Living here in North America, we started making plans to attend, one or two of the games, to show our patriotism and to show for our country in our colors. So, it is disappointing, but as I said, I don't think it's over. I don't think it's dusted and done. I think there is still a good opportunity here. The players just have to pick up themselves, believe in themselves, and recognize that it's now or never, right? It's now or never. So yeah, so that is where we are, as it pertains to the qualification, the playoff, the continental playoffs. All right. And I said it here. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Jamaica is going to qualify for the 2026 World Cup. It might seem like a long shot, but guys, I'm a Jamaican. You know what I mean? I'm patriotic to the colors. You know what I mean? Jamaica all the way. Here's the colors, Jamaica all the way. So let's just keep supporting the boys. Now, there's something that I want to talk about, and it is the appointment of Rudolph Speed as head coach. Now, he was the advisor to Steve McLaren, who resigned. So why was he next in line? Or was this the plan all along? Was this the plan all along? There are some people who are saying that this is just a big conflict of interest. You know what I mean? And certainly, I think administratively, the administration has to be called into question. They have done so many things that I think is of a conflict. You know what I mean? I think when I look at it, it's as if Rudolph Speed, who is not the president of the JFF, it would appear that he determines everything. He determines whether or not he wants to be the coach. He determines whether or not he wants to be an advisor. And it seems like Rudolph Speed gets to do what Rudolph Speed wants to do. I don't agree with the appointment. I think it is definitely not setting the right precedents. I hear on a program where Rudolph Speed said that he is what was the word that he used? He is a nationalist, but I think he does not understand the term, what that means. I don't think he understands what that means. Everybody here looking on would believe or feel, or the assumption is that Rudolph Speed is doing everything in his own best interest, not in the interest of the country, in his best interest. And so that certainly is not at all what a nationalist is. All right. So, but yeah, the appointment for me is, I think, even if we make it to the World Cup, I think there has to be a lot of changes. Right? But only time will tell. So, guys, that is my few words. I try to keep it under hour. Yeah, we were able to do it in 34, 35 minutes. So I want to hear what your views are. And again, I want to big up everybody that, take the time out to even watch my videos. You know what I mean? I'm not doing it for money. I'm just doing it for the like. All right, guys. So see you next time. Walk good.